next two speakers are Astrid Poyer and Charlotte Reuss, who will talk about Image Plus platform for open art education, visual database of the University of Applied Arts, Vienna. Since 2015, Astrid Poyer is research assistant at the Department of Art History at the University of Applied Arts in Vienna. She worked on a FWF project called A Matter of Historicity, Material Practices in Audiovisual Art. And currently, she is part of the ongoing research project Image Plus Platform for Open Art Education. And since the end of 2020, also Charlotte Reuss is part of this research project Image Plus Platform for Open Art Education. And her research interests include digital cultures, accessibility, and economization of culture and media art. And in addition, she is working on the ongoing dissertation project, Visual Arts Accessibility in the Digital Realm. Very interesting. We're looking forward to your presentation. Please.
Thank you very much, Susanne. I'm going to share the presentation. Again, thank you very much, Susanne, for the nice introduction and inviting us to this day and giving us the opportunity to present our humble database to all of you. At an art university, images are the basis for knowledge production. With this in mind, the University of Applied Arts Vienna developed an image and image research platform dedicated to the optimization of teaching. It offers a comprehensive repository of high-quality digital reproductions of artistic works that are enriched with scientifically validated metadata. It all started here at the Department of Art History with the digitization of the department's own slide library, our Diathek. The first efforts to further integrate the digital potential into teaching and research were made in 2008 when we switched from analog to digital and started to work with the commercial provider EasyDB. In response to the increasingly urgent questions of infrastructural and technological emancipation from proprietary software, as well as their standards, the University of Applied Arts responded in 2019, setting up its own in-house database. Developed as an open source software, the Postgres database is based on Django and includes around 18,000 digital image reproductions of artistic works. The application is located in the base angewandte web application, the interface between teaching, research, and administration at the university. Image-based teaching and research is therefore offered centrally and bundled for all teachers, artists, and scientists, as well as students of different fields of studies and disciplines. Simple and low threshold access is possible via single sign-on. The image database can not only be used for simple searches for research purposes, but to collect images in private folders and quickly export them into automatically labeled PowerPoint presentations, which I'm going to demonstrate now. The graphical user interface is available in both English and German. For today's presentation, you will see the German version. Whether you're researching for your own artistic practice or prepare for a course, filtered by artist, keyword, location, or dates, you can approach topic from different perspectives. Pictures can be collected within a private folder. There you have the possibility to organize your images, so put in the right order and combine two pictures on one slide. These can be exported as presentations for teaching or lectures, optional in English or German. The slideshows are automatically labeled with the names of artists, titles, and dates. These simple functions can be implemented directly with the help of the software developers of base angewandte, an in-house team of 5 developers who support all base angewandte applications. In this way, market-based systems can be bypassed and any realignments can be implemented together with the programmers in order to react promptly to possible user needs and to introduce changes. The opportunity for further development of our existing database was guaranteed in 2020 by the Federal Ministry of Education, Science and Research and the call Digitale und soziale Transformation in der Hochschulbildung. In cooperation with the University of Art and Design Linz, the University Mozarteum Salzburg, the Austrian Academy of Sciences, ÖAW, and the documentation platform for Austrian art, Basis Wien, we are furthering the work in our project Image Plus platform for open art education. We unfortunately do not have time to go into detail, but let me nevertheless outline our project key aspects and features. We aim to further improve the access and quality of image data and thereby the quality of teaching, not only in universities, but schools as well. With the use of open source software, we are independent due to its own universal internal technical infrastructure and therefore do not run the risk of finding ourselves within a commercially oriented dependency relationship of large tech companies. And the deployment of the in-house developed positions ensures us a long-term technical support for the application. The access to our database does not stop at graduations. Alumni have access to it. This is especially important as we're educating teachers that teach arts, bildnerische Erziehung and Werken at schools. Educators use our image database to prepare lessons and use it in the classroom. In this way, the use of digital image is actively discussed and critically questioned at schools as well, keyword media literacy. Therefore, it was important to collaborate with the Center of Didactics of Art and Interdisciplinary Teaching to develop open educational resources, toolkits for the use in the classroom. Another key aspect is a better representation of the Austrian art landscape and the opening and digitization of collections. By focusing on the Austrian art landscape, Image Plus pushes the cooperation with Austrian institutions and their archives in order to feed further image material into the database and to take an active role in providing reproductions in a scientific context beyond the common art canon. The better accessibility of collections starts within our own institution, like the PHAIDRAcon'21 or exhibition views of the Universitätsgalerie, but also extends to cooperations with galleries and museums. A huge undertaking is the field of linked data and ontology. We at the moment establish points of contact with standards data and control vocabularies to maintain scientific standards. In addition to enriching the data sets with non-data, efforts are being made to link the existing image material to other applications within our institution as well. A link to our research information system, CRIS, which in our case is the app portfolio that you may have heard about yesterday from my colleague Marta Palandri, would open up a unique link between current scientific research and image data. Or, as most of our image data is scanned from publications, we could connect the credit line directly to the entry to the Angewandte library catalog to encourage further research and make contextualization more easily accessible. One aspect that is inherent in our scientific practice is the critical reflection of our work. That means a critical reflection of the selection of entries as well as the classification within the archival structures through the definitions of keywords or through the categorization or hierarchization. One measure we already implemented, for example, is the contextualization of problematic or racist terms. We annotated terms like slave or can contextualize the sujet of Orientalism, or flagged artworks like Christian Ludwig Attersee's Türkentücke with the comment title perpetuates xenophobia. To aspire and enable cross-institutional networking, we of course would like to make our database accessible to other institutions as well. Our goal is the implementation in other Austrian art universities. And speaking of access, this brings us to the last but very important topic of addressing the issues of image rights and accessibility.
So besides the topics discussed within the research project, the issues of image rights and accessibility are of fundamental concern. By providing access to images that most often are copyrighted and therefore limited in their use, it is necessary to mediate and clarify the legal situation. However, image rights management is sometimes a rather neglected part within image databases. This is both due to the very time-consuming research required for each individual image, as well as the legal situation in general, all of which is difficult to figure out and to keep updated. Being an university image database, the target groups are primarily students and teaching staff, which leads to the fact that only certain types of image use are relevant. In this sense, the concerns of Image Plus are the transparent communication of copyright, as well as broad and open usability of the provided content in the scientific field. Although the scientific use of protected images enjoys certain privileges, there are still limits and obstacles to their usability. To briefly demonstrate these limits, I'll give you an illustrative example. Since image databases mostly make use of reproductions of work of art, it is not only the right to the work of art itself that must be observed. There are several levels to keep track of. First, one has to clarify the copyright of the artwork itself. Second, there are protective rights of the photograph taken as well. To make it even more difficult in Austrian copyright law, there existed a distinction between a simple photographic image called Lichtbild and a photographic work called Lichtbildwerk. This results in different protection periods, which vary in their duration and under certain circumstances, therefore extend the protection period of the entire photographic reproduction, including the depicted artwork. So if one wants to use, for example, a photographic reproduction of a painting by Max Beckmann, the following considerations must be made. Beckmann died in 1950, therefore the protection period, that is 70 years, of his work expired on January 1st, 2020, whereby his artworks enter the public domain. If a work is in the public domain, it can be used by anyone for any purposes, including commercial uses. However, the obvious conclusion that the photographic reproduction of the Beckmann painting can be used for anything without clarifying copyright is wrong. The decisive factor is the term of protection existing on the photograph. This period can range from 50 after creation to 70 years after the death of the author, depending on whether the work is a Lichtbild or Lichtbildwerk. As a result, if you want to use a photographic reproduction of an artwork that is in the public domain, it may occur you actually need to clarify the image rights on the photograph, meaning the essence of the public domain is completely undermined. On the basis of this example, the complexity and the amount of work required to clarify any copyright can be foreseen, and this doesn't even include the possible reuses of the images. For obvious reasons, this amount of work cannot be implemented in practice. Not every digitized work, together with their photographic reproduction, can be processed in this sense, especially not in the context of an extensive, growing, and dynamic database. As a result, within Image Plus, various adjustments are made in response to these challenges. Rather small and simple modifications are more differentiated input options and distinctions between artists and photographers, as well as an entry field for information on existing or known licenses of use. In addition, external applications that can be implemented also offer opportunities to communicate the legal situation more transparently. One example are standardized rights statements provided by rightstatements.org that are designed to help cultural heritage institutions to embed and mediate copyright and possible usages of the digital objects. Since use in the university context is usually legally protected, while further use is not covered, for example, in the context of a publication, making image rights visible should also proactively introduce users to the topic. Therefore, the main goal of these adjustments into Image Plus is not to clear existing image rights to ensure a continued use of every single image. This would be too extensive and in some cases not feasible. Rather, the changes are intended to make visible the legal status and the different levels that must be observed. Moreover, additional information on copyright and image use is also made available on our website and in a guide. Thereby, it is important to communicate the most important parameters such as authors or protection periods to the users so that they know how to proceed in order to clarify image rights. As can be drawn from the set, the scientific use of images still is complicated, to say the least, and requires extensive familiarization, which does not necessarily lead to more legal certainty, especially since many practice-related interpretations of the legal texts are only substantiated by court rulings. The difficulty of balancing the interests of authors and those of science often proves unfavorable in practice for scientific activities. Since science and research build on already existing knowledge and thus are obliged to refer to copyright-related material, the use and especially the dissemination of acquired knowledge to the public is often not possible or insufficient. Rather, primarily commercial interests are increasingly obscuring the idea of copyright law. Besides assuring their rights to the authors, copyright law also grants the general public the right to use works. A first step in this direction is taken by the EU Directive on Copyright and Related Rights in the Digital Single Market. For instance, this directive would make it possible to continue using works of art that are in the public domain on the basis of protected reproduction photographs. The protective rights to the photographs would then cease to exist in order to ensure public domain. A photographic reproduction of a work by Max Beckmann in the public domain then could be used without hesitation. Thus, the accessibility and use of such works via digital image databases would be much more feasible. A subsequent approach is the digital networking of different scientific institutions on a legally secure basis, thus avoiding multiple digitizations of the same objects and enabling a more efficient exchange. This endeavor is pursued by Image Plus through its various cooperation partners, as well as by the intention to guarantee the usability of the image database for alumni according to the principles of lifelong learning. In many respects, our challenge remains to work to strengthen and secure independent scientific research, also in terms of reflecting and questioning the premises of the digital tools we use. Therefore, the constant exchange with different stakeholders, researchers, and professionals is critical and necessary. We are glad to hear your thoughts on these topics, and please feel free to pose questions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this interesting lecture. And we saw that it is very complicated with all the legal issues and all the other issues. Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions? I have a look on the participants if I see a raised hand. I see no hand in the moment. Oh, yes, Fanny. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Hi. So it's such a great project that you are dealing with at the Angewandte, and it must be quite a challenge. I just have a double question, because you talked about enhancing the accessibility through actually working on metadata. So I was wondering, how do you plan on accomplishing this? Because this is very time consuming, as you know. And I assume that you are not the one who actually provided the original metadata. So how do you deal with this? And the second question is, which metadata standard are you using, and how, because you were talking about actually sharing and working with other institutions. So how do you plan on doing this? Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. So I'm going to start. We actually are providing the metadata by ourselves. The normal process is that we scan our images from publications. So we rely on the metadata that is provided within the publication. But as our database is historically grown and is over 10 years old, of course, there is new scientific information. So at times, maybe metadata is not up to date anymore. So we actually started, when we switched, migrated our database to image, we started a round of controlling all the data sets that we're at the moment are still doing and updating them. So this is actually done by ourselves, but we have now with the project the capability for more people to do this. And the metadata format that we're using right now, like we said, we're not yet linked to linked data and standard data non-daten, but this is a process we're in right now. So till this moment, we all edited by ourselves, everything. But now to actually make this exchange possible with other institutions and have this scientifically validated information and metadata, it is necessary for us to link it to non-data. Yeah.
Thank you very much.